Tonight, a First Nation in Manitoba loses their only school to an overnight fire.
We're seeing the number of people who are unhoused greater than ever.
What Winnipeg is doing to serve the unhoused during the polar vortex.
I would say that the one thing that surprised me, especially when I started talking to family members and survivors, was how they talk about it in a strength-based way.
And honoring 2 Indigenous women for contributions to Canadian history. Good evening, I'm Dennis Ward. Welcome to APTN National News. A First Nation in Manitoba says they are looking to find temporary classroom space to accommodate their nearly 400 students after losing their school to a fire early this morning. With more, here's T.R. Wheatley.
Community members watched the only school in Berens River First Nation engulfed in flames for nearly 6 hours. Some making videos and posting online. The devastating news circulated across Manitoba as daylight hit. Berens River RCMP were called at 3 a.m. Tuesday morning after the night guards saw smoke. The fire started in a crawl space, and despite attempts from the fire department to contain it, police say the fire grew too quickly. RCMP say no one was in the school at the time, and the cause of the fire does not appear to be suspicious. Berens River is about 275 kilometers northeast of Winnipeg. Its school was built in 1968 and has served generations of families. The school housing 380 students from kindergarten to grade 9. Leadership are now saying the school is a complete loss. In a written statement, they say there's ongoing discussions with the Frontier School Division and with emergency services to develop plans, both short and long-term solutions for the students to resume classes as soon as possible. The statement reads in part, "We will do everything in our power to rebuild. We will engage every available resource to bring a strong and timely solution to this tragedy." This isn't the first community building to go up in flames in Berens River. In January 2025, just down the road from the school, the hockey rink burned down and still remains under investigation. As for the school fire, no one was hurt. The Office of the Fire Commissioner is on scene investigating, and Berens River RCMP continued to help. APTN News has reached out to the Frontier School Division as well as Indigenous Services Canada, but did not hear back as of airtime. T.R. Wheatley, APTN National News, Winnipeg.
At this time of year, extreme cold is taking over many parts of the country, and it can be a life or death situation for people without shelter. Earlier this month, a fire destroyed the Manwin Hotel in Winnipeg, which has now impacted Main Street project, causing water and smoke damage, leaving many unhoused people to move to another city shelter without taking any belongings they may have had. APTN's Julia Ross reports.
With the polar vortex affecting parts of the country, temperatures reached -40 and below in Manitoba and northern Ontario. In a media release, Anishinaabe Aski Nation is asking for a declaration of emergency on homelessness in the city of Thunder Bay, stating that the crisis has gone on long enough and people will be sleeping outside in dangerous temperatures and are dying in the streets. Winnipeg saw temperatures reaching close to -50 last week, and lives were put at stake over the weekend as well.
It truly is life-threatening, this extreme cold, and it doesn't take long for someone to succumb to this cold weather.
Siloam Mission helps the unhoused through their many programs: emergency shelter, drop-in meals, hygiene, and clothing room. Siloam's emergency shelter is at capacity year-round, but they have opened a 24/7 warming space and drop-in center.
We normally serve 1,500 meals a day, so that increased by about 600 plates every single day. But we rallied. We're a well-oiled machine in that having extreme temperatures is nothing new. So we start planning already in the summer. And now we have an overnight warming space. Our drop-in doesn't close, so we welcome folks to come to Siloam Mission to be out of the elements.
Marco Ross, Siloam Mission's Senior Development Manager, says that organizations in Winnipeg work together to make sure everyone is receiving the help they need. She says the communication increases when extreme weather hits.
We are constantly checking with each other. Have you got any extra jackets? What about some more pasta? Can you send that over? And volunteers. I mean, it's a really close working relationship because we're all in this together.
Ross says that although they are at capacity, they don't want anyone to be turned away, especially during the extreme cold.
We have, of course, our emergency shelter, just like Main Street Project, but it's always at capacity. And so that's all year round. So having a warm place that can take, close to 200 people, sometimes a few more. We're careful. We work well with emergency services that we're not overextending, but we also don't want to turn anybody away.
Siloam's foot care nurses have been reporting more and more cases of hypothermia and frostbite. After looking at some donations, APTN News was shown that the shelter currently has no men's underwear and winter coats are lacking. Ross says that Siloam has been helping more than just the unhoused this year, compared to the past.
We're seeing the number of people who are unhoused greater than ever. The numbers are increasing. We dearly would like to go out of business, and our goal is to end chronic homelessness in Manitoba, but the numbers are increasing. We're also seeing more people coming by for a meal who are housed, but once they pay their rent, there's not enough left over at the end of the month for groceries. So they're coming for a meal or two here at Siloam Mission.
Donations are accepted at Siloam Mission Monday to Saturday. Julia Ross, APTN National News, Winnipeg.
If you have a story idea or want to weigh in on anything you've seen here, we're always looking for your feedback. If you have a story you'd like to share, send us an email to news@aptn.ca. You can read and watch our stories by visiting our website, aptnnews.ca. You can also find us online on your favorite social media sites, including TikTok, YouTube, LinkedIn, and X. Follow APTN News to join the conversation and see our latest stories. To Saskatchewan now, where RCMP are searching for 4 people in connection with a stabbing in a home on the Musqueam First Nation near Prince Albert. According to the Prince Albert RCMP, 4 masked suspects entered the home around 6:30 p.m. on Saturday, January 24th, and stabbed 2 men. Both victims were taken to hospital. One had non-life-threatening injuries, but the other one had to be airlifted to hospital. The 4 suspects fled in a vehicle that was later found empty. Police are looking for 34-year-old Jordan Stonestand of Musqueam and 27-year-old Chance Smith of Prince Albert. The other 2 suspects remain unidentified. RCMP are asking anyone with information to contact Prince Albert RCMP or Crime Stoppers. 2 Indigenous women were honored by the Governor General at a ceremony today. That story and much more still to come here tonight. Stick around. Welcome back. 2 Indigenous women were amongst those honored for their contributions to Canadian history. It happened at a ceremony at Rideau Hall in Ottawa on Tuesday. APTN's Fraser Needham was there.
Crystal Gail Fraser is a member of the Gwich'in First Nation in the Northwest Territories, and she was a recipient of the Governor General's History Award for scholarly research. Her book, By Strength, We Are Still Here, looks at the experiences of Indigenous people attending residential school in Inuvik. Fraser says her research was greatly helped by the personal stories of residential school survivors themselves.
There are so many elders and knowledge keepers today who are still in community and just need to be asked to share their stories, which can really add a lot of context and insight and even contradictions to the histories that we read at the archives.
Fraser says although her research brought her in touch with a number of sad stories, there are also many tales of inspiration at the same time.
I would say that the one thing that surprised me, especially when I started talking to family members and survivors, was how they talk about it in a strength-based way. So in my book, By Strength, We Are Still Here, what I really do is theorize Indigenous forms of strength that the children were able to use at these residential schools.
Another Indigenous woman was honored at Rideau Hall. Manuchka Otis is an educator at the École Manikanatish in Ouachat, Mac Maniutinum, Quebec. She received an award for excellence in teaching. Otis is being honored for incorporating Innu knowledge with hands-on experiences of traditional hunting and trapping into a secondary curriculum. A total of 12 Governor General History Awards were given out on Tuesday. Fraser Needham, APTN National News, Ottawa.
Congrats to them. The Mohawk Council of Ganawage is offering a one-time inflationary benefit payment. Community members can receive $500 to provide financial relief in response to the rising cost of living. The money will be offered through gaming revenue, with payments being distributed in May 2026. Ganawage residents 18 years or older are eligible to register, which must be completed by March 13th at 4 p.m. That can be done 2 ways: by contacting 514-754-2028, or residents can submit an email to Melissa Jean at planitganawage.ca. This announcement came just before Prime Minister Mark Carney proposed a similar benefit to Canadians. Under the Canada Groceries and Essentials benefit, a family of 4 may receive up to $1,890 this year and $1,400 a year for the next 4 years. While a single person may receive up to $950 this year and about $700 a year for the next 4 years. That must still pass through Parliament. Homeowners and businesses in the Northwest Territories have few legal tools to remove unwanted individuals from their property, but that could soon change if a new territorial law is passed. If passed, Bill 34 would govern trespassing on private property, schools, and, quote, certain types of private interests on public lands. Trespassing would become a territorial offense. Penalties include a fine of up to $10,000 and 6 months in jail. Politicians say right now, when RCMP are called to deal with alleged trespassers, all they can do is charge them with mischief. At a public consultation hearing in Hay River, some residents said it shouldn't be just the RCMP who enforce the act. Vince McKay represents Hay River in the NWT legislature.
Any other comments on Bill 30? You could use a dual purpose of saying, like a peace officer that's authorized to do this type of work or that kind of thing, so that we're not specifically stuck with the one term of like RCMP, right? Because there might be tribal police in a community, there might be other kind of law enforcement in different communities, so not being stuck with just that one term. And something that we've been running into in Hay River is that term sheriff. So we have to wait for the sheriff to come to Hay River to do the evictions.
A major court case is moving forward in the United States. Meta, TikTok, and YouTube are accused of deliberately harming children and getting them addicted to their sites. The companies will answer to charges they contributed to the youth mental health crisis. The companies dispute the claims, citing numerous safeguards they've added over the years. They also maintain they aren't liable for content posted on their sites by third parties. Jury selection starts this week in the Los Angeles Superior Court. A Juno-nominated singer-songwriter has just released their first book. We'll speak with Adrian Sutherland and bring you a preview of tonight's Face-to-Face after the break. Welcome back. Time now for our photo of the day. Alicia Dawn was at the recent Winnipeg Aboriginal Sport Achievement Centre, or WASAC night, at the Winnipeg Jets home game. The night was full of Indigenous art and displays of culture. Thanks for sharing, Ali. You can send your pictures to share@aptn.ca for the chance to be our next photo of the day. Now let's take a look at tomorrow's weather forecast. Starting on the East Coast, sun's out and -6 for Halifax and Fredericton. -13 for Kuujjuaq, cloudy and 9 below for Nain. Cloudy and -9 for Montreal, 14 below for Chibougamau. -12 for Sault Ste. Marie, cloudy and 9 below for Ottawa. -15 for Thunder Bay, 18 below for Sioux Lookout. -19 for God's Lake, 18 below for the Paw. -17 for Winnipeg, 16 below for Dauphin. -11 for Regina, 12 below for North Battleford. -11 in Meadow Lake, 21 below for Stony Rapids. In northern Alberta, -10 for High Level, -13 for Fort Chipewyan. +3 for Lethbridge, 2 above for Calgary. 7 with showers for Vancouver, cloudy and 5 for Kamloops. 4 for Prince George, +1 and cloudy in Smithers. -27 for Old Crow, 15 below for Beaver Creek. -16 for Yellowknife, 20 below for Norman Wells. Minus 30 for Sax Harbor, 27 below for Paulatuck. Minus 18 for Chesterfield, 22 below for Baker Lake. Minus 33 for Resolute, 25 below for Arctic Bay. Attawapiskat First Nation singer-songwriter Adrian Sutherland has just added author to his resume. Penguin Random House released The Work of Our Hands, a Cree meditation on the real world, on December 30th. The Juno-nominated musician reveals the reasons his family remains in the First Nation in Northern Ontario, despite the challenges. We had a chance to speak with Adrian earlier today. Adrian, great to see you. Thanks for being with us, and congrats on your first book. Can you tell us a bit about The Work of Our Hands, a Cree meditation on the real world?
Yes, absolutely. It's my first book that I've done. I'm a new author, so I'm really excited to get this book out and working on it for the better part of about 4 years now. So it's been quite a bit of time spent sort of shaping the stories in the book, and I was able to touch on a lot of different things, like growing up in Attawapiskat and what that looked like for me. And I think most importantly, it reveals a dimension of this place that most people have probably never seen before.
Why did you want to share your story and write a book?
Well, it's something, that's kind of been in the back of my mind for a while now. Just being out there, I think, on the land and having that connection to the land, always felt special to me. And going out there, I thought there were some experiences that I felt that were sharing, I think, with other people, and I thought maybe they could, maybe perhaps learn something from it, or could relate to it in some way. Particularly, what gathering fresh water looked like for me as a child and growing up, and to doing that throughout my whole life. I thought it would be interesting to kind of explore that a little bit more deeper.
I think a lot of Canadians might maybe only know about Attawapiskat through Crisis or something like that. What are you hoping that readers take away from the book and your experiences?
Yeah, absolutely. I agree with your point there. I think people know Attawapiskat for chaos and crisis, and I think there's no doubt there are issues here, and there are hardships. But I think people need to look past the mold on the walls, and if you look a little deeper, you'll see that people are actually active participants in surviving, raising their children, out harvesting. They're in a rhythm of living life up here, and I think even though you have a hard life, it doesn't mean that you can't experience beautiful things. At the same time, I think those two things can coexist.
A lot of Juno nominees might move to Toronto or a bigger center. What's kept you in Attawapiskat all these years?
Well, I think it's the biggest thing is having that connection to the land. I think that's the biggest thing. I don't stay here for the politics, and just having that peace and just being out there, it's always been something I hold close and dear in my heart, and I just find it would be really hard to find it anywhere else, like in a big city.
I wanted to chat with you about something else you recently did, the song I'm Not Afraid, written with youth from Kashechewan First Nation as part of their Choose Life program. Can you tell us about that experience?
Yeah, I know. I went into Kashechewan First Nation about a year ago, over a year ago now. We started going in and visiting their Choose Life program, and they have a group of youth there, teenagers that were really into this songwriting workshop that we kind of took in there, and that's the first time I've actually ever done anything like that as an artist, and it was something I absolutely enjoyed doing, and was. I think when you go into these communities, it's hard to know what to expect, but the kids were very giving. They were very expressive, and they were very excited to be a part of it all, and we had such a great time. And I made sure that they led the songwriting, and started to reveal that started to reveal this trend about being connected to the land and being out on the land, as in the far north bands, a lot of communities are still, out actively participating in harvesting activities throughout the year. So that was very obvious in early on in the writing, and then that kind of sort of went with that theme, and we came up with this wonderful song.
Yeah, Saskatchewan, same thing, going through a rough period right now and often in the news for those types of things. So the video was great to see. It looked like a lot of fun.
Yeah, no, we had such a whole load of fun there for sure.
Good stuff, Adrian. Well, it was great to see you. Congrats on the song and, of course, on the new book. Wishing you all the best.
Thank you, Dennis. Thanks for having me again.
We'll never forget the episode of Face to Face we did with Adrian the day the world and Juneau shut down. But a new episode of Face to Face is just minutes away. And our guest tonight is Isabel Daniels, a longtime advocate for vulnerable and exploited people. Recently, her advocacy has turned to garnering more support for families of missing and murdered Indigenous men and boys. Daniels says more programming should exist for men while they're alive and struggling with the gang life, incarceration, and generational trauma. She says difficult conversations also need to be had about the perpetrators of crime.
We hear a lot about, our women being taken, our people being taken by non-Indigenous people, but statistically, it's, Indigenous on Indigenous crime, and it's a really hard conversation to have, but it's one that we need to have because we need to heal as a people. And our men are suffering, our people are suffering, and if we don't do it now, then when? We can't keep having conversations about how we're going to heal our people and being judgmental of people who need that help. It's time to just put all of that aside and just create spaces for people to heal.
You can watch our entire interview with Isabel in about 90 seconds from now, as we're all out of time for your APTN National News this Tuesday, January 27th. Of course, for news anytime, you can visit our website, aptnnews.ca, and we will be back here tomorrow at 1 p.m. Eastern Time with your first look at the day's news. I'm Dennis Ward. Marcy Miigwech, thanks for being with us. Stick around. Face to Face is next. Have a great night.